Welcome to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast with Janis R. Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as the angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist, here on the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. I am so thrilled that you're here today for the second to last episode of the secret podcast for midlife women inside the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. And as you listen to each of these episodes, and my cat you'll hear in the background will echo, you'll begin to realize where you're holding back, where your limiting beliefs are, and how you're actually showing up for yourself compared to how you truly want to show up for yourself. You know, I so often hear from women in midlife, and have struggled with this myself along the way, that speaking up and speaking out on behalf of ourselves is really tough. And unless you're somebody who's either really cold-hearted and you don't give a shit about what people think and you just blurt out, or you're somebody who is incredibly secure in yourself, speaking your truth 100% of the time feels daunting and even scary. And if you're over 50 and feeling like it's time to finally stop holding back, well, this episode is for you. We're diving into something I know so many of you struggle with, finding and using your true voice in a world that often expects us to say nice, agreeable, and compliant. Maybe you felt for a long time that it's your job to keep the peace, to be accommodating, or to never make waves. But today, we're going to shake things up a bit around that notion. Why? Because in order to have the life you want, you got to do things differently. In other words, to get different results, you've got to take different actions. So in this episode, we're going to unpack some of the core beliefs that keep us playing the nice girl role, even when it doesn't feel good. And we'll talk about how to break free from all of them. And I'm also going to give you 3 essential strategies to help you start expressing yourself fully and confidently. And by the end of this episode, you're going to feel more prepared to start owning your voice unapologetically. So let's talk about the so-called nice girl persona. I guarantee you each one of us knows this, each of us ladies. From an early age, many of us are taught that our role is to be polite, agreeable, and non-confrontational. And by the time we reach midlife, I know I have, those lessons have often taken root so deeply that we barely notice them anymore. They become automatic. But the truth is, always playing the nice girl often means stifling our true voice, our true feelings, and even our real desires. And we end up prioritizing the comfort and approval of others over our own needs. And that can leave us feeling like strangers to ourselves in our own lives. Can you relate to this? Does this sound familiar? So before we go any further, I want you to take a moment to reflect on a question and to be honest with yourself here. I always ask for you to be honest and transparent with yourself because that's really the only way you're going to grow. So these questions are purposeful, okay? So this question is, when was the last time you bit your tongue or didn't share what you really felt because you didn't want to upset somebody or be seen as difficult? You see, these moments may seem small when you do this, but when they pile up over years, they chip away at our authenticity, our ability to be authentic. And when we start silencing ourselves so frequently, we almost forget that we have a voice at all. And it's actually scary to think about it in this way, isn't it? It's like, how often have you sacrificed your voice, your opinion, your need to be heard, your boundaries for the sake of making sure everybody else feels comfortable around you? And the truth is, the energy of that, it builds up inside you. And before you know it, the habit has become part of your identity. And you become a more shallow version of yourself as you believe that who you are isn't somebody who has an inherent right to speak up on her own behalf. When you continuously prioritize other people's comfort over your own, that's not something valiant. It's actually something that reflects this belief. If I work hard to sacrifice myself through martyrdom, then others will think I'm good enough and they'll accept me more. And the reality is that sooner or later, your soul is going to get fed up with you being the good girl who acts like the martyr. And the fire will erupt within, and so will the words that come out of your mouth unexpectedly. And then what will happen? You see, how you live your life has nothing to do with anybody else, right? What's going to happen is you're going to explode. It has everything to do with you and only you. And sooner or later, you're going to get fed up with you. And you'll either become incredibly self-critical and nurture an internal sadness, or you'll decide that this self-resentment of always sacrificing your voice for acceptance and approval, it's not healthy or useful anymore. And you'll become your own advocate with healthy boundaries and a strong voice. So let's see how that plays out as I continue to share these thoughts and questions with you. But first, after this quick break, I'll dig into the remaining content and then give you some powerful and effective strategies to actually help shift you into a powerful sense of self so that you can easily begin to use your own voice as you're internally guided to. If you're a woman in midlife who feels like midlife is a test of your endurance rather than a celebration of wholeness with amazing opportunities ahead, then I couldn't be more thrilled to invite you to my free live 60-minute training called Midlife Mentality Makeover, where women just like you and me learn how to unlock the secrets to revitalizing your life. This is your chance to really learn how to make significant shifts to how you experience midlife. It's not about getting old. It's about becoming whole. So, in this free live 60-minute training, you'll learn how to shift your mindset, overcome those limiting beliefs, and reignite your passion, and so much more. And during this training, we'll explore practical strategies to help you embrace this beautiful phase of life with confidence, enthusiasm, and joy. So, if you're ready to step into your power and truly transform your midlife experience from something to endure into an amazing and exciting second half of life, head over to janisrcohen.com/MMM and reserve your seat for the Midlife Mentality Makeover live free training. Seats are filling up quickly, so don't wait, I wouldn't, to register for this eye-opening experience that's going to kickstart your newly redefined midlife experience into high gear. That's janisrcohen.com/MMM. janisrcohen.com/MMM. You're listening to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. Before the break, I was talking about the last time that you bit your tongue to make others comfortable. Now, let's dive into something else that I believe will help you understand more of why you're showing up this way. And, that is examining the most common beliefs that keep us stuck in this nice girl role, even when it doesn't feel good anymore. And I bet some of these sound familiar to you. What about this one? If I speak up, I'll come off as selfish or rude. Or people won't like me if I start saying what I really think. And what about this one? I've been this way so long, how can I change now? Like, what are people going to think? I should just stay this way. You see, so these beliefs don't just hold us back. They actually limit our ability to live fully and authentically. But here's the good news. These are just beliefs. And as I have always talked about, beliefs can be challenged and changed, and they should. It starts with becoming aware of them and questioning them. Remember, I talk about this all the time. Be aware of the thoughts you think and challenge them, question them. So let's dive into that with another question for you. Second question is, what do you truly believe might happen if you started expressing what you really think and feel? Like, who might be affected and how might they be affected? You see, sometimes we don't even realize how much we're holding ourselves back until we stop to ask these questions of ourselves. And sometimes the people who really care about us, they'd actually prefer to hear the real us, right? Not the version of ourselves that's trying to make everyone comfortable, the censored version. So I want you to take some time to write down your answers to this question. What do you truly believe might happen if you start to express what you really think and feel? Who's going to be affected and how? And you're going to be surprised by what comes up for you and what comes through for you. Now, let's get into some practical strategies that can help you start stepping out of that nice girl role and into a place of real unapologetic expression. And is all about taking small steps to retrain yourself to be authentic in the ways that you communicate and honor your truth. And this is the first strategy, and this might sound simple, but it's very, very powerful. Start with a daily practice of speaking your truth just to yourself. I don't want you to judge this and say, oh my God, that sounds so stupid. Won't work. I want you to try it. Take 5 minutes a day and write down or even say aloud one thing that you're really feeling, even if you never plan on sharing it with anybody else. And this could be about anything. Something that you're frustrated about, a desire you've kept buried, or a part of yourself you want to express more freely. And as you do this, I want you to consider this next question. What's one thing that you've wanted to say, even if only to yourself, but you haven't allowed yourself to fully acknowledge? It's a big question. What's one thing you wanted to say, even if only to yourself, but you haven't allowed yourself to fully acknowledge? Now, something magical happens when we speak out loud. Just like something becomes real when we write it down in a calendar. It's like you can't ignore it anymore. It's out there. You might notice that all of the repressed self-expression might come out in a big way in the rush of emotions of self-contempt for not having spoken up in the past might surface. And you know what? That's a good thing. I want you to welcome it because your soul is inviting you to practice a new habit so that you clean out the emotional clutter of past habits. In truth, those who are meant to stay in your life, they will. And they'll welcome this new you. They'll learn this new you, especially if you show up authentically. And the more you practice fidelity to self, the more you honor your own needs, desires, and thoughts, and show yourself increased self-respect, the easier it's going to be to become somebody who shares your thoughts, right? And who you are without fear or worry of suffering dire consequences. You see, getting comfortable with your truth privately helps you get clear on what you want, and it prepares you to express it out loud when the next time comes around where your voice wants to make itself known. But let's be real. This second one, I think, is a big challenge for many, many, many people because we all want to be seen as good, right? Saying no is one of the hardest things to do when you've been conditioned to keep everyone around you happy. But no is a powerful word. And as you've heard, no is a sentence. That's it. No. It's a full sentence. And when you use it, you're setting boundaries that protect your time, energy, and well-being. And when you don't use it, you are allowing your time, energy, and well-being to be exploited. Next time you're asked to do something that you don't truly want to do, I want you to try saying, no, thank you, without adding, I'm sorry, or giving a long explanation. One thing that I find extraordinarily helpful, like when I'm asked to do something that I really don't want to do, is to say something like, you know what, let me think about it. Let me see what's going on, and I'll get back with you. And that gives me a little bit of space to just be able to kind of sit in the decision of it. What do I really want to do? What does my heart tell me to do without feeling guilty? And then if you don't want to do something, you simply let that person know that you aren't available at that time. You can even thank them for asking you to do that thing or to be a part of whatever they're asking you to do. Say, oh my gosh, You're so sweet to invite me or think of me, but you know what? I'm sorry I can't do it that day. Period. Do you hear me explaining anything more? Nope. The small steps help build confidence and let others know that you respect your own needs, which really is the hallmark of growth and self-confidence. And I want you to grow and I want you to feel self-confident, but you have to want it for yourself. I can't want it for you more than you want it for yourself. Now, the third strategy is setting aside one conversation each week to speak more authentically. And here's what I mean. I want you to pick one conversation each week where you're going to practice saying exactly what you think or feel. Whether it's a casual chat with a friend or a more serious talk with a family member, coworker, anybody else. I want you to start small if you need to, but make a commitment to express yourself honestly and authentically without sugarcoating or apologizing or choosing to feel guilty, because that's your choice. Choosing to feel guilty is a choice. These conversations, they don't have to be confrontational. And it could be as simply as saying, actually, I really kind of disagree. I'd prefer we try something different. I don't want Chinese food tonight. I'm kind of feeling a hamburger. And one of the most common limiting beliefs women express to me is about speaking their truth, right? And the real concern is that they don't want to confront somebody. And most conversations, if expressed authentically, aren't confrontations. And here's what I mean. So if you speak from I and speak from your authentic truth, there is no confrontation necessarily, because you're not attacking the other person. You're not trying to get them to see your point of view. You're not trying to influence them at all. Simply what you're doing is self-expression. And whether they accept it or not, that's on them. What they do with it or not is on them. But this is on you, how you express yourself. And I always invite people, and likely y'all have heard this strategy, is speak from I. And it will sound something like this. I feel frustrated about that because blah, blah, blah. And what I need from you right now is blah, blah, blah. Or what I wished you had said or done was this, okay? You could also say something like, you know what? This didn't really feel right for me. Or I'm just not sure about it right now. Let me just take some time to think about that. Or, I don't really feel like that's the right thing for me to do right now. So practicing this regularly builds a muscle of authenticity, and you're going to eventually make it easier on yourself to speak your truth in all areas of your life. Okay, so to all the listeners who are ready to say goodbye to that nice girl and start owning her real voice, here's what I want you to remember. Finding your voice, it's not about changing who you are. It's about letting who you are finally come to the surface. I want you to take it one step at a time. Start with small truths, because when we break these big habits, it can feel really intimidating and really scary. Start with small truths and give yourself permission to be honest. You deserve that. It's your inherent right to speak up. This journey of self-discovery is about reclaiming your power and your voice, because you deserve to be heard and you deserve to be your true self as you move through each moment. So I am so glad that you joined me for this conversation today, and I really hope that you'll take these insights and start making them your own. And until next time, remember, you've got a voice. It's time to let yourself be heard loud and clear. I wish you a blessed day, a wonderful week, and as always, live intuitively. Ladies, if you've been feeling like something's off in your life, like that spark of passion, purpose, and personal power is just out of your reach, you're definitely not alone. Midlife can be overwhelming, filled with changes, challenges, and that pesky identity crisis that leaves you wondering, what's next for me? And who am I now? But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. I've created something special just for you. The 5 sneaky things that are sabotaging you in midlife guide. And yes, it's free. Inside, you'll uncover the 5 real obstacles holding you back and how to identify them in your own life. Plus, you'll get straightforward solutions to start your transformation today. So, what are you waiting for? If you're ready to take back the reins of your life and embrace this powerful phase, head over to janisrcohen.com. That's JANISRCOHEN.com and download your free guide right now. Your future self will be so grateful.